A very good morning and warm welcome 10th standard for your online learning teaching session of Science and Technology B lecture. Today we are going to start with lesson number 10, disaster management, and once we complete the explanation of this lesson we shall switch to lesson number 6 question answers and lesson number 10 question answers together. Okay, so this lesson being very quite practical information and of some important techniques or tips of how to management the disasters that occur in our life, in the nature, in your surroundings, how to deal with it. So they are not scientific, they are very of common sense. So it would be good if you all focus on this and keep in mind the important things that are being explained in this lesson. Then are disaster, then types of disaster, what are the effects of disaster, then what are the impact of disasters, disaster management, how post disaster things should be managed, the nature and extent of disaster, first aid and emergency action that we all should be aware of, and mock drill. So let's begin. First, what is disaster? Now, in general, we all know. Now, it is any incidents that occurs suddenly causing heavy damage to life and property. Now, this disaster can be man-made or due to natural reason. You might have seen in the news recently, there was a building that crashed down in Bhiwandi. Then few months ago, during the rainy season only, you might have heard about the landslide on the Kandivali-Malad Expressway. So these are disasters, may it be small or may it be a bigger one. And there might be man-made disasters also. Now the landslides are natural ones, but collapsing of building that could have been avoided as notices were given prior but the people were not informed. Okay. Which disasters have you experienced in your area? Come on, now everyone has at least, not if not experienced, thankfully, but you might have seen in the news or heard from your friends or relatives. Let's talk about Mumbai only. 29th August 2017, okay, 3 years ago, there was heavy downpour in Mumbai. Then 26th November 2008, very much familiar, the attack that was done on many places in Mumbai, the terrorist attack. Yes, the Taj Hotel, the Kama Hospital, then the Leopold Cafe. So that is also a disaster, but it is a man-made. Also, we are aware of 2005 Mumbai rains, then the 7/11 trains attack, yes, the tsunami. So these all are disasters. We all have heard about it or experienced as well. What are the effects of that disaster on local and surrounding conditions? Now, during the rains, the low-lying areas, they are quickly waterlogged. The people living in and around are affected badly. The ground floor houses are affected. Then if trees fall down, they injure the people, the building crashes, collapses, people die under the debris. Then school colleges are shut down. Then the terrorist attack that you saw, we had many international guests as well. So the image of our country also worsens in such case. The security is being questioned. Yes, so there are different effects that happen. Loss of life. Okay, we all are aware of this, and these are very simple things that we have experienced personally, and so we can write it, express it in our own words as well. Now, disasters, whatever dangerous events that occur in our environment, they all come under the disasters. Now, most of the time, they are floods. We are aware, wet and dry famines, cyclones. We recently experienced it in the first week of June. How the precautions were taken prior, then earthquakes, volcanoes, etc. These all of a sudden, whatever happens all of a sudden to mankind, the troubles that happen to the mankind, these events, they bring about a drastic change in the environment and cause damage. Now, environment is damaged too also because of the natural resources, overuse of the natural resources that we have been doing for our development. This we have studied in the previous lessons and previous standards as well. Am I clear? For the development, the deforestation that we keep on doing, because of that the carbon dioxide emission, carbon dioxide levels keep on increasing. Because of the global warming, the glaciers are melting, sea levels are rising, etc. Now, according to the United Nations, as per the United Nations, the sudden event that leads to the huge loss of life and property is termed as disaster. Any event that takes place all of a sudden and that causes loss of life and property. Now, during the floods, earthquakes, landslides, lives are lost and also the property. The Kerala floods, if you remember, 2 years ago, with the loss of lives, there was huge loss and damage to the property of people as well as the government. Okay, so any such event is termed as disaster by the United Nations. And as these events are sudden, many a times the the precautions are at times not possible. Now, floods are sudden, but yes, when it comes to cyclones which are predicted, heavy rainfall, some precautions can be taken, but complete avoiding of loss of life and property is not guaranteed. Then you have various areas of economic, social, cultural, political, law and administration, everything get disturbed. It is loss of these factors as well. The connections between law and administrative offices, the connections with the administration unit also gets disturbed. Economic conditions of that particular area or that state, or in case if it is the disaster has taken place on a large scale in the country, so it affects the social and economic aspects of that country as well. Okay, now we have studied types of disasters and measures we need to take. Almost all the disasters, okay, the effects are always similar. Now, period of which disaster is not same. Some are very short term, some are quite long term. Okay, then reasons also behind disasters are different. Now, what are the two main types of disasters? I told you previously, it is natural and man-made disasters. Now, this is the preliminary classification. Catastrophic disasters. Catastrophic is which causes a huge loss to life as well, property, very dangerous, very harmful. Now, this we need not explain. The cyclones in Odisha. Now, geographical location, if you go to see, Odisha is always frequently facing the cyclones. That is all because of the geographical conditions, the effects in the Bay of Bengal that keeps on going. So these all, that is a different thing. Cyclones in Odisha, recently also in April or May month, we heard about the cyclones, which you can, in the picture itself, you can see how badly the city, the people, the property is being damaged and badly affected. This is a picture of earthquakes in Gujarat. In around 2000-2001, there was a earthquake in Surat. Till now, the people have the worst memories of that earthquakes. You can Google and you can learn more about it, how bad, how worst it was, and what effects and impacts it left on the people, the property, the state government, the central government. Complete buildings, houses, everything just collapsed within a second. It was so severe. Then also you might have heard about the earthquake in Latur. You can see the roads are being broken, the houses are being randomly, falling off, the sheds are being falling. So this is how these disasters sometimes are. These are known as catastrophic. Then also the cyclones that keep on coming in Andhra Pradesh. Yes, like I said, you in Mumbai also we experience how previously measures were taken. Offices, schools were shut anyway, but essential services, offices were also shut. And then at such times, the internet connectivity, the mobile connectivity is also lost. Now, irrespective of all these, the life always returns to normal, and it has to return anyway. You cannot just sit there. You have to come out and bring the solutions. Now, this is a picture of famine. Then problems of crop. These are also considered as disasters only. Sorry. Now, irregular rain, non-seasonal rains or sudden change in the climate will also cause damage to the crops. Then famine, excessive shortage of food. Then you can see floods, rising levels of the sea, of the oceans. And that is why the Mumbai has been facing flooding every now and then. Recently, just yesterday and today also, Mumbai has been put on high alert since 3 days, I suppose. And you can see the condition of Mumbai. Half of the town is submerged in water. The hospitals have water, the schools have water, everywhere you can just see water. So what is this? This is all disaster. To some extent, you can also classify this one as man-made disaster. The next picture is of desertification. Scarcity of water, scarcity of rains. Yes? Now, how the disasters can be classified? Geophysical, biological, and man-made. Let's look one by one. Geophysical. Now, this is related to the physics of the earth. The concerned with the physical process and physical properties of the earth, you can say, the surrounding environment. When it comes to soil, mountains, atmosphere, air, etc. Okay, so first one is geophysical. In that also, the disasters are further classified as either geological or atmospheric. Geology, let me tell you, it is the study of earth. So these disasters related to earth, and the atmospheric we will see. So geological, you have earthquakes. Yes, the volcanoes. You might have not experienced volcanoes. Thankfully, our location is not such, but you might have heard of Indonesia, Japan. They are very much prone to volcanic eruptions. So basically, the hot gases that are present beneath the earth, they suddenly, because of the pressure created, they suddenly blast out. It also has very long effect, students. Then tsunami, the 2005-2006, the tsunami that was experienced by Sri Lanka, and also its effects majorly were experienced in the states of Chennai, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh in India. Then landslides, I told you. Now landslides, what happens is, students, it has been studied that the mountains, they shift by an inch every year. Okay, and also because of the heavy rains, the heavy stones, the rocks that slip down, the mud becomes very mushy, and hence the with the water, usually in the rainy season you might be hearing of the landslides. Usually the Pune Mumbai express highway is many a time shut down because of the landslide. The Goa Mumbai express highway, like I told you about the Kandivali. Yes, so because of the heavy rains, the rain lashes out the mud, the rocks, the stone, and hence the landslides. The landfall almost same. Erosion. Okay, the soil erosion is also one of the natural disasters when there are no trees to hold the soil. Okay, even on mountains you might be experiencing, when you go to hilly areas, there are erosion on mountains. So basically what happens is small stones, the along with the mud, they run off on the road. Again, that can cause harm to the vehicles or the persons that might be passing through that way. Alkalization, flooding, etc. Now flooding is a natural disaster, but in many cases it is caused due to man-made actions. Like in Mumbai, I told you, we have left no way for the water to run off. The every piece of land that was empty, that was barren, that would have helped in running of the water, we have just covered it with skyscrapers, the complexes, or some other kind of human activities, construction, etc. We haven't left any piece of land from where the water could run off, and hence we have flooding every now and then, which is very regular. Now when it comes to atmospheric, hot and cold waves, summer season, during the summer season in states like Rajasthan, Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, you have extreme hot waves. You can actually feel the burning sensation on your skin. And contradictory to it, cold waves that you experience in the hilly regions. Snowstorms, avalanches that you might have heard of. Yes, that are also very extremely dangerous and harmful. You might have heard of people going to mountaineering. There are many who just get washed off in that snowstorms. Cyclones, the low pressure created in the oceans and seas that lead to the effects and extreme rainfall in the cities on the lands. Okay, then hailstorms, drought, flood. Again, flood has been categorized into atmospheric. Because of the cyclones, hurricanes, the floods are obviously being experienced as excessive rains happen. Meteoroid and sunspots. Now hailstones are ice pellets that fall off from the sky towards the land. This is also usually experienced in the hilly areas or the snowy regions. Next we have biological, wherein involvement of plant and animal takes place. Forest fires, fungal disease respect to fungal, then weed, the different type of grasses that infect. Then animal disasters, they have infectious disease that spread to animals. We have heard and experienced also, I do not know go in detail. Bacterial disease such as cholera, malaria, hepatitis. Now did you all observe one thing, that fungal disease have been classified under plant disasters and the bacterial disease have been classified under the animal disasters. Then insect bites, bite of poisonous animal, etc. These are also disasters. Okay, snake bite, then if any animal attacks, so these are also disasters. We are not aware of it. Okay, these, now if you go back to the definition, it is a sudden event that occurs and it obviously even causes costs life of a person. Okay, and last one, we all are aware, man-made. Most of the disasters in today's day, children, are because of man-made, are man-made only. unknown that happen unintentionally with no purpose of harming people. Poisonous gases, atomic test. So at times in chemical industries or atomic nuclear power plants, there are some testing going on, some experiments going on. So unintentionally some accident might takes place. Unplanned action which is not planned. I'll give you an example of Bhopal gas tragedy. Students will be studying about long term impact. Bhopal gas tragedy, it has been more than 33 years that event took place, but till date people in that nearby area are experiencing its effects now to a on a minor scale. But yes, even after 35 years the effects are being experienced. Then Chernobyl event also, if you go and google, you will come to know. Recently during the lockdown in Visakhapatnam there was a gas leak. Again, it was unintentional, but that also caused lot of lives. Yes. Then international, these we are very much aware. War, fire, bomb blast, forced migration. Because of some international issues between the two countries, the people have to migrate. Terrorism, we have been hearing about it, we have been experiencing as well. Rapes and child labor is also one of the worst disasters that needs to be stopped. Okay, so these are the classification of disasters. You just understand the main classification and easily you can elaborate it if asked. Which are the destructive effects of flood? The flood water uproot the trees, we have seen. Then houses collapse due to surge of water. The fields get waterlogged. Basically everywhere you just get to see water all around. The water does not recede easily. At times it takes 2 to 3 4 days for the water to get recede. Yes, now since everything is underwater, the process of decomposition also begins at a higher rate. This may then further spread the epidemics of disease. We are already experiencing one pandemic. Which are the effects of dry famine? Now, the dry word itself explains scarcity of water. The crops dry as there is no proper irrigation due to scarcity of water. Then severe food shortage due to dearth of water. The cattle die, the human beings are forced to migrate or die because of hunger. Which are the destructive effects of earthquake? Now, earthquake is largely responsible for devastation of property, of human life, and many a times animals as well. The houses collapse that we have seen. Then roads get damaged, the transportation is affected, impossible. The electricity water supply is disrupted, not just in case of earthquake, but in case of any natural disaster such as even cyclones. Yes, and damage to lives and properties. What is forest fire and what is its effect on environment? Large spread fire of the dry gas, shrubs and trees. Now, forest fire takes place in the jungles or the forest where the trees are dried up. Okay, so because of rubbing against each other, a fire breaks out, and if the wind is gusty, so you will have the fire spreading it within no time. So, and the temperatures are also high. The effect of this forest fire is greatly devastating and it affects largely on the plants and animals. You might have heard in the end of 2019 there was a fire breakout in Australia which lasted for about 6 to 7 months, students. Yes, and it was so worst, and it was spreading it so fastly that it couldn't be controlled by any means. It began in some 2019 October, and it was going on until February 2020. So it has been studied that a huge number of plants and animal species have become extinct as well. Not just died but become extinct. The vegetation then becomes dead, plants turn into ash, and atmosphere is full of smoke, which further causes air pollution. It was also observed that the neighboring country New Zealand also experienced the effects of the forest fire in Australia. So you just imagine how worst it could be. Okay. Now, effects of disaster. We have seen the serious effects of the disaster: collapsing of bridges, flooding of coastal village, shortage of food, then developing cracks in the land and the roads, etc. Then forest fire, drought. Okay, so what is the exact nature of this disaster? Whether there are any changes in nature before the occurrence of disaster, and for how long the effects occur after the occurrence of disaster? How? These are the questions that usually come to our mind. Now, disasters definitely affect the economy of the nation. That effect is always relative to the disaster and economy. Economy is affected, yes. Then social leadership, effect of disaster on social leadership. That is, if your local leader, your local political party is not strong enough to help their people to make sure that the city or the town or the village is back on track, then it also affects that. Then citizens become confused, they are unable to deal with the problems, no help is given to them, loss of life takes place, loss of jobs takes place. It affects the participation in rescue and rehabilitation activity. You might have seen the as soon as there is a disaster, or if there is predicted disaster, the NDRF team, the disaster management team, the forces, the coastal guards, the policemen, every unit is being kept on toes, kept ready for the rescue operations and the rehabilitation, that is migrating the people to a safer places. So this all is being pre-planned. So that is also affected if your leader, if your political party, if your country is not economically strong. Yes, administrative problems arise, yes, between the local governing bodies and the state government on the central government during long term, during the worst disasters. You might have heard of state government and the central government announcing financial packages, yes, to help that state, that city, that town or disaster affected area to build up, to come back on track soon. So this all is affected. Yeah. Basically the entire system collapses with effect on each and every department. So it is very necessary to take proper precautions, be aware, and for that your country, the people, the political parties, everyone need to be on toes, and there should be a good cooperation between everyone. These are some of the effects after disaster: destruction, damage, property, destruction of production. Yes, the factories, the companies stop working. Then destruction of lifestyle, loss of livelihood. If people lose their jobs, they lose their livelihood. Disruption to government system, sociological, physiological effect. Okay, so these are some of the other. So we are running short of time, and for today let's stop here. We'll be continuing with the remaining part next time. Till then, stay safe, stay home, take care, see you soon. Bye.